Okay, so it's the weekend. That means it's time for another AMA video where I answer anonymous questions submitted by you guys. If you would like to submit an anonymous question to me to answer or possibly read on this video series, you can do so at the link in the top of the description box. With that being said, let's jump into this week's 5 questions. First one is, how did you first come across the Chuds, and what was the catalyst that made you decide to go after them? So my first interaction with the Chud channels, I've talked about this on live streams, but it's probably lost in the ether somewhere, was through heel versus babyface, surprisingly enough. I've mentioned this before. I was actually watching his content back in the day. He was doing gaming content like World of Warcraft and gaming news and stuff like that. So I was watching his content, and slowly over time, he started to become more and more involved with these channels. And so I became more and more aware of them, what they were doing, the kind of content they were making. And back then it wasn't quite as big a deal, as harmful, as dangerous as it is now, but you could see it sort of starting. And I made the decision to stop watching his content and to basically not cover these guys. At that time, my Eric's Reloaded channel was in the teens, like it was like 16, 17,000 subscribers at that time. And I made the poor decision of not talking about them at that point. And I regret that. That was an L decision on my part. I should have been more proactive. I should have said more about it, but I didn't. And so that's part of the catalyst of me like going after them now, or I don't want to say going after them. I mean, you could say it that way, but like calling them out, calling out their behavior, calling out their bad takes, things like that. But the big trigger for me on my channel was when I was doing She-Hulk content, and I was getting people from like Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, Heel versus Babyface, all these guys coming over to my videos and leaving negative comments. And not just like, I don't like the show, I think the show is bad, but like repeating the talking points of those guys to the point where it was like basically arguing with my viewers in the comment section. And it became a problem to the point where I couldn't even really discuss the show without dealing with all the hate and negativity. And so that is when I decided I need to do something about this. I need to be more vocal about it. And so I decided to start this channel over here, which, by the way, as of making this video, we're officially at 5,000 subscribers. This is amazing. You guys are absolutely amazing. 5,000 subscribers before the end of August. We've hit it before the end of July. So this is incredible. You guys are amazing. It's because of you that we've done this. So I'm going to keep pushing forward, and I will be doing a special 5,000 subscriber stream. So you guys will be able to join in on that. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. Let's jump into the next question. And it says here, the grifty Chud genre of channel and hate content masquerading as fandom, a dime a dozen, although we are observing viewers are getting bored with them, whereas channels like yours that expose them and talk about things with an open, albeit critical mind seem to be on the rarer side. Why? Are people afraid to push back? Obviously, channels similar to yours exist, but I will get real. You are the first and only one thus far that has appeared on my feed as recommended by the YouTube algorithm. Few things to unpack there. I just think that there's a lot of people, and I still get them in my comments now, who believe just ignoring this stuff is the best way to get rid of it. But we know, like in practicality, we know that's not how it works. This isn't one of those situations. YouTube incentivizes and promotes this kind of content. So there's not a lot that we can do as far as being quiet about it that is going to make it go away. So I think there is a portion of YouTube that is disillusioned into believing that just ignoring it will make it go away. And that's not going to happen. It's just not. Okay. So or coming up with the nerve to do this requires a thick skin. You have to be able to deal with it. And not everybody is equipped for that. And, you know, some people would say that's an issue. That's a problem that people have to address within themselves. But I look at it this way. If you are not prepared to deal with hate comments, pushback, videos being made about you, social media making fun of you, things like that, if you are not prepared emotionally and mentally for that, then it's probably not a good idea to get involved in this. I just am very good at dealing with it. So to me, it's not really a big deal if people want to say negative things about me or talk about me or whatever. If I feel like I want to respond to it or I want to make videos about it or whatever, I will. But some people can't compartmentalize that, and it ends up affecting them in a bad way. So I get that part. I think that has a lot to do with it as well. So disillusionment that, you know, YouTube is going to do something about this if we ignore it, that's not going to happen. You know, people who can't really deal with the pressure of doing this also probably are a reason why. and some people that just understand it's a huge undertaking, having to keep up with all this and understand all of the nuance of what's happening. Obviously, channels similar to yours exist, but I will get real. You're the first one and only one thus far that has appeared on my feed as recommended by the YouTube algorithm. Well, that was kind of my goal. Out of everything that I've done with this whole system, my goal was to get into that pipeline and therefore screw up the pipeline for some of the Chud creators by creating an alternate voice within their echo chamber. This is something that I think a lot of people misunderstand about my content. I've seen it on Reddit post about me. I've seen it in some of the comments under videos. The intention of my channel isn't to sort of paint me as a virtuous person while I'm creating content that counteracts what these guys are doing. In order for me to infiltrate the echo chamber and dismantle the algorithm from the inside, I have to appear as closely aligned to that kind of content as possible. That's the only way YouTube will align content with their content. Otherwise, you are battling them on the other side of the city. You're not taking the fight to them. You're fighting them on the opposite side of the arena. So you're swinging at them and nothing is happening. You have to sort of trick YouTube into thinking that your content belongs in a certain bubble bath, essentially. So that is what I've been working on for the last 2 years, is really sort of understanding what the ingredients of that are and trying to get into that system. I've had a lot of people in my comment section go, I don't know why they recommended your video to me. I clicked on it and all you're doing is talking about the Chuds. Yeah, that's the point. That is the point. So I think I've just done a really good job of that. You know, I can pat myself on the back for that one. I think I've done a really good job of like tricking YouTube into thinking that I belong in that algorithm and therefore screwing up that pipeline a little bit. So that is kind of my intention. So the fact that you're saying it here makes me feel kind of happy that what I've been doing is working. I don't know if other people feel as comfortable doing it. A lot of people don't want the pushback to making content that feels a little gross. But I'll get in the mud. I don't care. I'll get in the mud. I'm totally comfortable swinging punches in the mud, when it comes to this kind of content. So that's just me. Anyway, thank you for your comment. Next up is thoughts on Iceman becoming gay and the outrage surrounding it. It's old news. He came out a decade ago, but wasn't Bobby's whole thing being a ladies' man from the decades old lore? While I wouldn't usually care about something like this, he's such an ancient founding character of the team. Like, imagine changing up OG characters like Han Solo or Captain Kirk. Do you think on some level, various characters, especially the old ones, should be left alone? Why can't they just make new gay characters? I think I've talked about this a little bit before. I don't remember if I made a whole video about it. I actually, at one point, was going to do a series of Pride videos where I talked about this kind of stuff, but it just got to the point where the videos I thought were kind of boring for me to make. Like, I didn't think they'd be very interesting, so I just kind of ditched the idea. Let's talk about Iceman. So first and foremost, becoming gay is such a weird way to put it because I don't think people become gay. I think people are always, to some degree, with the exception of maybe some outlier, cases on this, are always inherently what they are. It's just about understanding what that thing is. And I'm going to give some anecdotal examples of this. My previous husband did not come out until he was in his 40s. He was in his late 40s when he came out. And at that point, he had already been married to a woman and he had 3 kids and grandchildren. So it was an issue where he just had to sort of blend in with his environment. No one in his family knew. No one around him knew. He would go out with the guys and talk about women and do all of that and code switch and things of that nature. So this idea that someone becoming gay because of how they behaved in the past was different doesn't line up with reality. And I know that's really hard sometimes for people who aren't gay or people who aren't familiar with this. It's really hard to understand that, but it just doesn't line up with reality. Some people do come out later in life. Not everybody, but some people do. Some people are not openly gay or trans or whatever when they're younger because of like social stress, worrying about getting pushback from their family, things like that. So they don't actually come out as early as they could because they worry about what their life is going to be. And they end up tricking people by pretending their whole life, and sometimes pretty much all their adult life, pretending to be something they're not. Now, obviously, Iceman is a fictional character. Bobby Drake is a fictional character. So yes, someone has to write that character and someone has to decide things for that character to do. That's the case with all characters. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, Someone that originally wrote Bobby might have said, well, I think Bobby might be straight. And then somebody that writes Bobby later might go, well, I think Bobby has been in the closet and been gay the whole time. Bobby Drake is a character. People make decisions for those characters. They're not making them for themselves. So all we can do is look at it, the person that's writing it, and see if what they're doing makes any logical sense in terms of that character. So could Bobby Drake have been portrayed as sort of a ladies' man? Yes. Does that mean that he couldn't have been a closeted gay man? No. He absolutely could have been a closeted gay man masquerading as a ladies' man. It does happen. It has happened. We even have like celebrity examples of this. Celebrities that have been known for being into women that come out of the closet much later in their life, and they do so because they're worried about their career. That's it, right? So I think it's an important story to tell. And as far as like making up new gay characters, you can do two things. Can we only have new gay characters, or can we tell complex gay stories with other characters? Can we tell complex queer stories with other characters? You know what I mean? Like, is it that we have a character who is gay, who came out late in life in the comics where we don't get to see what that looks like in actual practicality? So with Bobby Drake, with Iceman, we get to see how someone presumably was portrayed as a straight guy, I guess, as a ladies' man, whatever you want to call it, to a certain point, and then comes out. That's something we don't get to see with like a new character that makes us care about that person's life because it's a brand new character. With Bobby Drake, we can have conversations about that. I think it was sloppy. I think some of the decisions they made also bring into question like morality and friendship and things like that, especially with Jean Grey and when the time travel thing switched back and all of that. Like there's a lot of things that make it not great in terms of like representation, which then goes, yeah, but this is maybe what it would look like in reality. So we have to understand that's a possibility. Could someone abuse their trust with another person with telepathy, where they always knew something, but they never said anything because they were prying into someone's thoughts? Yes, it can happen. Can it be someone that we like Jean Grey? Yes, that can happen. Can Bobby Drake be someone that was holding back being gay for years? Yes, that can happen. All of these things can happen. I think the issue is challenging people who are reading the books to accept the character for those changes. And I'm going to sum it up with this. If you cannot accept Bobby Drake as coming out as gay later in life because you have always seen him as a straight person, imagine what it's like for real people who come out gay later in life that you always thought were straight. And then try to understand that is why people don't come out. So if you can take anything away from this story, it's the fact that this is why people keep this to themselves. This is why it's so hard for people to come out, even later in life, because of the social stigma around it. So thank you for your question. Next up, final countdown starting now. Gary just put up his Superman review video. His Fantastic Four review video will be in 2 weeks. And then it should get interesting. I wonder what every week he's going to do for his weekly videos. If there's no Hollywood news, I guess this just his streams. And even those views wise are going down. So I was looking a minute ago at what comes out. So August, these are the big movies for August of 2025. Bad Guys 2, Freakier Friday, Nobody 2, The Roses. Okay. And then we look at September, Downton Abbey, the grand finale, The Conjuring Last Rites, Xeno, The Strangers Chapter 2, Long Shadows, The Bride. So we got 2 months. 2 months of no big movies. Now we do have some shows coming out. I know Eyes of Wakanda comes out in August. So we might talk about that. Maybe Eyes of Wakanda will be the new thing for me to talk about. But yeah, in general, I think it's going to be rough for these guys because there's not a ton of stuff coming out. And this is going to cause them to either do more politically charged content. They'll start making stuff up. They might even pull back up some Rachel Zegler stuff. They might even pull up some stuff they might grift off of like Fantastic Four and Superman for the next 2 months. You know what I mean? They might do that. But it's going to be very tight for them because there's just not a lot coming out in August and September other than a couple of TV shows. So I suspect Eyes of Wakanda, even though it's only 4 episodes long and it's a cartoon, I suspect they're going to talk about that. They're going to try and talk about it. I don't know what they're going to say about it. They're going to try and talk about it because it obviously ties into Black Panther. It obviously ties into Ironheart because Riri was in Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. So maybe they'll tie all that together. I don't know. I assume it's going to be bad. I will say this though. I have been keeping an eye on the views, and it does look like they're struggling a little bit. So I'm curious what Fantastic Four is going to look like for them. Are they going to pull in big numbers? Are they going to be doing well with Fantastic Four? Could this be the end for the Chuds? I don't actually think so. I don't think it's the end for them, but I do think that some of these channels are going to struggle. It's going to be bad. Maybe there'll be some video game news they can talk about. Sometimes they'll jump into that if it's big enough. I'm not really sure what comes out between August and September in terms of video games. But yeah, I'd have to look into it deeper and see what else is being released. But as far as movies go, there's nothing. There's nothing for them to talk about for the next 2 months. And here's the last question for today's video. You say you were white in a recent video, but I thought you were Arab or Latino, although you can also pass for white. This does not matter at all. I'm simply curious, this is an AMA. What is your ethnic and racial background? So as far as I know, I've done a lot of digging into my family's history. I am primarily Scot-Irish, which I didn't know was a thing for the longest time. So yeah, white, primarily. Now, I'm not saying there isn't something else in my background that I'm not aware of, because a lot of my family records are not available to me. They were destroyed, so I don't have access to all of them. So I don't really know totally. So yeah, and I don't trust any of like those DNA test sites because I don't want them to have my information, like the, what is it, 23andMe and stuff. I don't want to do any digging like that. So I don't know. Maybe I should suck it up and do that one day. I'm not totally sure. But as far as I know, I'm Scot-Irish, which is the biggest portion of my history from my family. I tracked back both sides of my family come from that part of the world, with the exception of a few people from California that are not accounted for. They came over through California, and I don't know exactly what that background was. But other than that, I'm just a white dude. Although I will say when I was younger, like when I was a teenager, people thought I was Latino. Like, because I don't do it so much now, but I used to spend all day outside at the beach and stuff. So I got very tan in the summertime. I probably still could now, but I'm trying to be careful with my skin and stuff, as old as I am. But yeah, I would get really tan and people thought that I was Latino. But yeah, I'm just a white dude. So I don't know if that shatters anybody's opinion of me. Don't know. Maybe it matters to some people. You say it doesn't matter to you, but maybe it does matter to some people. I'm not totally sure. Anyway, that is the end of this week's AMA video. Now we are at 175 replies on this one. I'm going to do one more week of this, and then I'm going to do a special members only video where I answer a ton more questions in this response list that I have not done yet. So if you're a channel member, look for that video next week. That will come out in tandem with another AMA from this list. And then we're going to start a new list, and I'll be doing that moving forward. So there'll be special member only videos, maybe twice a month, where I talk about some of the comments and questions that I don't answer in these videos. So if you want to see those, you can become a channel member. Again, thank you guys so much. 5,000 subscribers. Thank you. Thank you. I can't say it enough. I honestly thought it was going to take us till the end of August, but here we are in the middle of July, and I'm hitting 5K. So maybe 10K by the end of August. I don't know. Let's just keep it real. Maybe like 8K. We'll do. I'll meet you halfway on that one. Anyway, thanks you guys, and we'll see you in the next AMA video. Take care.